It's been 2+ months since I started this reading 2 chapters per day challenge with you guys, and also we are wrapping up the 2nd season of self-affirmation challenge. Most of the people have done very good, and I hope you got something out of it. But also it's true that most of people have bad days. Of course, there are days we couldn't finish 2 chapters, or there are days that we couldn't wake up at 5 a.m. Sometimes we are disappointed by ourselves, and I was really looking at how other people take care of this kind of emotions. Because I wanted to learn. Because when it comes to feeling shame and guilt and self-berating, yeah, I understand. Yeah, if there is like self-berating club, I think I may not be the president, but I think I could easily make board member.
So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to scare ourselves and others into changing their behavior. And it's not just us. It's because we all share this deep-rooted belief. If you threaten people, if fear is induced, it will get them to act.
I know how that goes, and I know how that feels as well. So I wanted to learn from other people, so I was kind of looking at how other people handle these setbacks. And I found that unfortunately there are people feeling like me. I should have read 2 chapters yesterday, but I couldn't, and I could have woke up earlier this morning, but I didn't. I'm not sure why I'm so lazy. This should have, would have, could have are killing us. So today I wanted to talk about one psychological habit that has helped me tremendously when it comes to handling setbacks and frustration and disappointment and shame. For example, let's think about one bad day. So I wanted to wake up at 4, but I couldn't do it. Or I wanted to read 2 chapters a day, but I couldn't do it. I messed up a really important presentation at work. Or my family member was sick, but I found it really late. I couldn't help him or her earlier. For me, it's really easy and quick to go down the pathway of self-berating, beating up myself, feeling guilty, emotionally punishing myself somehow. Some people say that it's not constructive, but I couldn't stop it because I thought that that is the only way that will improve myself, inspire myself, or achieve something. I think that's what I'm used to, and even the psychologists don't deny that it's one way to achieve something.
So yes, fear, punishment, and kind of in a way this inner critic is kind of harsh self-punishment kind of works.
However, what is important is how we feel after that achievement.
But then it might lead to anxiety, neuroticism. It has a lot of negative consequences. For instance, performance anxiety. They may be so anxious the next time they take the test, is that going to undermine their ability to do peak performance? Fear of failure. You might develop so much fear that you're going to fail and get, your criticism, and eventually you might give up.
So beating oneself up, feeling shame may be one way to achieve something, but there is another better way to achieve something too. That is what's called self-compassion.
So there's another way to motivate, and that's with encouragement and support. First of all, hey, I'm so sorry you failed. Ouch, bummer. It's okay, you're human, you fail. But I believe in you. How can I support support you to reach your goals. Goals of self-compassionate people are just as high, but what happens when you don't meet them? That's the big difference.
And I know, another cheesy and gooey word from positive psychology. I remember that Dan Harris, the anchor at ABC and also the author of 10% Happier, he said he's allergic to this term, so he decided to call it self-friendliness.
Compassion, or if you're afraid, as I am, of gooey words, you can just retranslate that into friendliness.
But I think the most important thing is not what it is called, but what it is actually. The self-compassion is being nice to yourself, being kind to yourself as your very best friends treat you.
Kristen Neff, a great psychologist, defines self-compassion as approaching yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would show to a friend.
There are 3 components of self-compassion. First one is mindfulness. So some people may be thinking of meditation, and you could use meditation for this, but I think it's more about awareness. So some hard situation is happening there and I'm suffering. Just noticing that rather than being swept by the emotions that I have. So I know the situation is hard and I can feel that I'm suffering. And second component is common humanity. They said that it's a very common human tendency to hide in shame when things are not going well. But we can acknowledge ourselves that other people will feel the same way in a similar situation. So we are not the only one in life who are having hard times. It's a part of the process that we learn, we improve, and we grow. And then last component is self-kindness. You can give some kind and warm response to yourself. This can take many forms. It could be self-talk. The researchers say that it could be like even physical touch. I think the important thing here is to respond in a kind and warm way. And then there is another problem. So I felt like the self-compassion felt like self-justification or like some kind of weakness. Does it really work? Can I still grow with self-compassion? Because this feels like someone is forcing me to be complacent and I don't like that feeling. I was really doubtful. Yeah. And then usually I come back to some scientific research about it. Let me share some scientific evidence about self-compassion. Chris Germer, he is a clinical psychologist and also he is a lecturer in Harvard Medical School. He said, when we feel threatened, our nervous system is awash in adrenaline and goes into overdrive. When we are in this state, showing our self-care of kindness is usually the last thing we are inclined to do. That's me. When we experience positive, warm connection, however, our system releases oxytocin, a feel-good hormone that downregulates the effects of adrenaline. Taking a mindful pause and then bringing kindness to ourselves seem to activate your innate caregiving system and the calming effects of oxytocin, allowing the mind to clear and giving us a chance to take rational steps to resolve the issue. And there is another research from Duke by Dr. Meredith Terry. Because they cope better with stressful events, people high in self-compassion may be less depleted by illness and injury and thus have greater self-regulatory resources to devote to self-care. And then what about goal achievement? That's what I'm interested in the most. Self-compassion was positively associated with mastery goals that was mediated by the lesser fear of failure. It's not really a weakness, but it's a very good psychological habit to have in our life. So when you look up self-compassion in dictionary, some Korean dictionary translate to 자기연민, but I feel like 자기연민 is a little bit negative term and it's more a translation of self-pity. And the research really clarifies the distinction between self-pity and self-compassion. And when individuals feel self-pity, they typically feel highly disconnected from others. They become engrossed by their own problem and forget that others in the world experiencing similar or perhaps worse difficulties. Because individuals become carried away by their feelings, self-pity also tends to exaggerate the extent of personal suffering. The process of self-compassion, in contrast, requires that one engage in metacognitive activity that allows for recognition of the related experience of self and other, decreasing egocentric feelings of separation while increasing feeling of interconnectedness. So there is a clear difference between self-compassion and self-pity. So if I have to translate self-compassion in Korean, I'll call it more 자기 공감 or 자기 친밀감. Rather than 자기 연민. Lastly, so we like this term 자존감, self-esteem, but also self-esteem is very different from self-compassion. Self-esteem is very often contingent on small or big achievement, successful goal attainment, but self-compassion is more unconditional. Even when things are not going well, you can still have self-compassion. How we can practice self-compassion, and let's say that you couldn't wake up early in the morning, rather than like, why am I so lazy? Why am I not changing? Rather than saying that to yourself, first you can practice mindfulness, so you can be aware of the situation. Okay, I woke up late, I'm a little bit frustrated, and I'm about to go down the pathway of beating the shit out of myself, but I'll give a pause there. So take a breath, and then you can remind yourself of common humanity. I'm trying to change the tendency that I have kept for like 30 years. Of course it's hard, and it will be hard to anyone. And I'm not perfect, and people are not perfect, and this is how I learn. So I'll be patient, and I will learn what I can learn here, and then I will wisely move on. And then lastly, you can practice some self-kindness. 2 months ago, I was not even thinking about making a change, but I'm on it. I'll still give some credits to myself for trying and making effort. Great job, me. I already feel good. Lastly, Dr. Knapp recommend to think about how would your best friend who is supportive, who is kind and warm and smart will treat you when you are having a hard time, when you are suffering. Thinking about that really helps us find self-talk that really resonate with us, and then we can do that to ourselves, right? If my friend is having a really hard time, I'll probably say that, of course it's hard. What we are trying to do here is not easy, and it will be hard to anyone. Things not going well doesn't mean that we are inadequate or we did something very wrong. And then probably I will give the giant hug and then tap on the shoulder and say, it'll be fine. Whenever you are ready, let's do it again. I'll be here to support you. We can be kind to ourselves. We can be a little more patient with ourselves. And I am sure that that will eventually take us to the better place in a happier way. All right? That's it for today. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.
How I see you. I'm looking out, it's really far. I felt a tingle in my heart. The sun has set, the stars will appear. In many ways it's great up here. Somehow life goes on, the stars we know are gone. In this lonely place I still see your face. I go round and round until every sound is a symphony from my heart.